welcome to the month of May. I think spring might finally be here, and it's definitely that time of the month to talk about the stats and what the market's doing. And everybody asks me every day, Rob, what do you think the market's going to do and what is it doing right now? So here is the update, and I will get right into it. You can see for the first time in 4 months, we've actually had a softening of the market, only 75.27% absorption rate. You know, in the first quarter of the year, right up until the end of March, we were seeing multiple offers like crazy, stuff selling in one day. And then all of a sudden, the federal government raised interest rates, and it definitely cooled things off. And I don't know if it had all to do with just interest rates, but it certainly seemed to be a direct connection as to why things cooled off. But 75.27% absorption rate is still a really strong market. You'll notice it didn't affect prices. Prices still actually went up 1.35% for the benchmark price. We are looking at detached homes here. And you can all see that's up 19.13% year over year. And you can see that we are just continuing to be at the highest price range for detached houses in Calgary. So, you know, even though the market softened a little bit and things aren't selling as fast as they were, and we're not seeing as many multiple offers, this is still a very strong market for detached homes. I think what you will find is that people have to be a little bit more realistic. I can tell you by March rolling around, we did have some sellers that started putting them at prices that were a little bit ridiculous. So you always see that in a seller's market. Here's the hard numbers, 1,851 sales out of 2,459. And so you can see that we're down from March where we had 2,280 sales. And our inventory has actually gone up and our sales have gone down, and that's why we have a little bit of softening. It's not rocket science to understand that. Market distribution, pretty well we're at where we were last month. 500 to 600,000 is officially the sweet spot for detached homes in Calgary. And interestingly enough, second place is now $600,000 to $700,000. Third place is $400,000 to $500,000, and it's getting very difficult to get a good home in Calgary under $500,000 these days. So it's very interesting to watch this market distribution. The other thing that's really caught my eye is the 5.44% is the $1 million to $1.5 million price range now, which has really taken a new level here. I mean, this was only just over 2% not that long ago. So very interesting to see how many people are buying luxury homes right now in this. All right, let's look at semi-detached homes. Interestingly enough, 79.79%. I have not seen this before. This has a higher absorption rate than detached homes. That's a first. Pretty impressive to see that there's that kind of a demand. Our benchmark price at $487,900, and you can see we've gone up just 2% in the last month and 16.25% year over year. We definitely have now surpassed the highest point in 2015 for semi-detached homes. 304 out of 381 sold. And that's a good sign. You know, 381 listed, so slightly more inventory, slightly less sales than last month. But these are just some really strong numbers for the semi-detached. And you can see how, you know, the tide has come in, all the boats have gotten lifted. 300,000 to 400,000 is still the highest price point, but the market distribution for semi-detached has really changed, and it's now fairly even. When you think 400 to 500 is 18%, almost 19%, 500 to 600, 17%, and you can see there's this big lift here in the infill market at 10% for 700 to 800,000 and 8 to 9%, or sorry, 9% in the $800,000 to $900,000 range. But also what's amazing to me is seeing the $1 million to $1.5 million at 4.27%. So there's some really nice luxury semi-detached homes that are selling in the inner city. This is a really active market, and it's so good to see, because for a few years there, the semi-detached and the infill market really wasn't doing that well, and now it's looking really good. And this again is unprecedented. It was just last year where row houses were really not doing well at all. I mean, we had absorption rates on row houses of 18%. Suddenly, now we're at 81.95%. This has taken the first spot between the three products so far for absorption rate. That's just really unprecedented. Still dropped just a little bit, from last month, but still, that's a pretty strong market. We went up 2.27% in 1 month, and we're up almost 17% year over year. And you can see at our benchmark price of 343, now finally, we've surpassed the peak of 2015. So that's really good news for anybody, especially if you're looking to sell in this particular kind of product. So here's the hard numbers: 604 sold out of 737. So you can see the inventory is slightly up. The sales are slightly down. I mean, it was a really strong month last at 709, and of course February at 537. So, but this is still a really good market to be selling at 604. I mean, that's really impressive. The strongest market is still $300,000 to $400,000. That's the bulk of them. And of course, it makes sense because, for most people, they would like to get into a semi-detached or a detached home. But if you're looking in this price range of 3 to 4, this is where there's a demand. And I've noticed, there's a lot of people from Ontario and BC that have bought in this row housing market as an investment property. There was a lot of them sold as investment properties. And I think because the numbers make sense, if you're spending 300 to 400, the cost of it versus the rent you can rent it out at, it makes a lot of sense. It does drop off considerably as soon as you go to $400,000 to $500,000. But all in all, this is a good news, and it's a good market. You can see there's not much of a luxury market for these, though. This is primarily in the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to price. Now, here's our apartment condo market. Wow, I mean, 50.43%. There was, a few years ago, I never thought we'd see the day. And, here we are. It's so good to see that this is continuing to stay strong. But, it's obvious with the prices going up in the other products, this is now a really active market for people that just want to get into the market, or if they are trying to downsize and maybe sell out of their more expensive property, and maybe you're retiring or something along those lines. This condo market has really come back to life. Now, 272,600, you can see we're up 2.52%. We haven't knocked it out of the park. We're up 8% year over year, and that's great news. But when you come down to this chart, you can see we still have not hit the peak of 292,000 in 2015. So we still have a ways to go, but we are getting there. This is good news. I mean, if we keep going at the pace we're going with 50% absorption rate, we should finally hit the numbers we were at 2015. And you can see it was pretty ugly from 2016 all the way to 2020. I mean, there was a lot of people that bought here, and they were in a position where they couldn't sell, and they were in a negative equity situation for quite a few years. So this is definitely breathing some life into those people, and probably feeling a lot better about their hanging on to their condo if they still have it. Here's the hard numbers: 642 out of 1,273. So we, again, have a little more inventory than we did last month and a little less sales, but still a very good market with only 34 days to sell. Our market distribution, nothing much has changed here. 46% of the market is under 300,000. So there is our biggest price range for the condo market. It drops right off a cliff to $300,000 to $400,000 is 18.89%. And you can see there's not much of a market past there. I know I have a luxury condo right now that I'm trying to sell for just over $1 million, and we just are not getting a lot of action on that property. But if you are down in the lower half of the price range here, especially under $300,000 or under even $350,000, you're going to do quite well, and you shouldn't have any problem selling your condo. So just a little advice to wrap up to this market report. In selling in this market now, with the fact that it's slowed just a little bit, it's back to making a little bit more of an effort to sell your property. This is where you do want to pay attention to getting your house ready. It can make the difference. I mean, even when the market was hot, it did make a difference, but you just didn't have to work at it as hard because the demand was so high. But right now, I mean, just recently, we even did a few minor upgrades to this house that we just put on the market in Lake Chaparral. And, it's unbelievable the response we've had just putting it on the market yesterday, just with doing a few things inside and giving that little sprucing up. The pictures look absolutely amazing. So these little details can go a long way. And I work with someone that is very good at this. We've proven this over and over again, that a small amount of effort can really pay off. And it certainly makes a massive difference when it comes to the negotiation. It puts you in a better position to negotiate. And I can't stress enough how important it is to create a negotiation strategy for every situation that you're in. That's really where the experience and the talent comes through in this business, is handling these offers when they arrive and putting them into an actual sale that can be accepted. Even tonight, I'm dealing with an offer that came in quite low on Sunday, and here we are on Wednesday, and it looks like I'm putting it together, and it took me 3 days of negotiations, and there's a lot of things that went back and forth and that were said to bring this buyer up to a price that my seller was willing to accept. And that's like I said, that's where it takes a lot of experience and knowledge. It's a lot of moving parts to make that happen, and that's the sort of thing that I do. So feel free to reach out to me as always, even if you just want to get an idea of what your property is worth, or get a feel for what this market is going to do. I don't get attached to your timelines. If you're still probably not doing anything till next year or later this year, it's perfectly okay to call me in. I don't mind, because everybody needs good information before they can make a good decision. Hope this was helpful, and we'll see you all next month.